Hey, y'all. Welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast, your unofficial guide through Disney World memories and their connections to the parks we know and love today. I'm one of your hosts, Dewey, and this is episode number 7, titled Happy 50th Birthday Walt Disney World Resort. With me today are my podcast travel buddies, Ron and Tony. How's it going, Ron?
Hey, it's good to be here. I can't believe that we're already in our 7th episode, but having a ball and get to talk about the 50th today is going to be a lot of fun.
Should be fun. How about you, Tony? How you doing, bud?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I am ready to celebrate Disney's 50th anniversary, Disney World's 50th anniversary, with a look back at some of our favorite anniversary specials that we've been to. It's going to be a fun time.
That is right. So on October 1st, 2021, the Walt Disney World Resort will be celebrating its 50th birthday. We wanted to mark this golden anniversary by reflecting on Disney World celebrations of the past. Tony and I were lucky enough to experience previous birthday celebrations, so today we're going to talk about those memories. For me, I've been to a few Disney World birthdays. I've been during the 15th, the 20th, the 25th, the Millennium Celebration, 100 Years of Magic. You get the idea.
Yeah. You've been to Disney.
I've been to Disney. Yes, Ron. Thank you. So I've been to a few Disney birthdays. I've been to most of the 5-year anniversaries. So 15, 20, 25, 30, so on and so forth. So I've chosen to highlight my first Disney World birthday celebration, which was the 15th in 1987 was when I went. Tony has chosen to highlight the Walt Disney World 25th celebration and its now infamous pink birthday cake castle. So let's get this party started. You guys ready?
Let's go.
Ready.
All right. I have my handy dandy yellow notebook full of notes, guys. I'm ready to go. All right. So let's jump right into the 15th birthday, Walt Disney World's 15th birthday celebration. It began on October 1st of 1986, and it ran through September 30th of 1987. So the birthday went for an entire year. And everything that I was reading, it said that this was the biggest over-the-top celebration that Disney could come up with. It was basically out of control, and we're going to talk about some of those things. So remember, in 1986 and 87, there were only 2 parks, so the celebration took part at the Magic Kingdom and at Epcot Center. Some of the things that I noticed, and I watched through my video, and I wanted to talk about a few things. You could see the Skyway to Tomorrowland and Fantasyland was still opened. I missed that thing. Sorry, that was always a lot of fun. You could get some great views from up there. This is funny. I was watching my video and it just struck me at how things have changed. We were on Main Street watching the parade, the 15th birthday parade, where we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And as my family was videotaping, there was a lady beside us smoking a cigarette on Main Street. So that just really struck me. I was, that there was a lady on Main Street smoking a cigarette, right there watching the parade. That really just struck me how things have changed. So,
well, in general, right? I mean, not only at Disney, but that is shocking to see that at Disney. But can I back up for a second? So the Skyway that ran between, what was it, Frontierland and
it went from Tomorrowland. Basically, it was where the restrooms are beside Space Mountain now. Mm-hmm. That was the station, and then right. It went over the Tomorrowland Speedway, made a left into Fantasyland, and where the tangled bathrooms are in Fantasyland now, right beside It's a Small World, that was the station there.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it made basically like an L between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland.
But that was open still in 1986.
Oh yeah, I think that was almost around 2000 or so. It was there 99, maybe 1999. I think they closed it.
Definitely, I know. Wow. I wrote on it. I wrote on it a few times.
Yeah, it was.
I find that interesting because those things started closing down in a lot of amusement parks all over the country, and but Kings Island did away with theirs. But now they had an unfortunate incident where people got stuck on it literally for hours. I don't remember exactly, and it disappeared after that. But I didn't realize Disney's was up until 2000. That's pretty.
Yeah, I want to say that the one in Walt Disney World closed in 99. It was right around there, 98 to 2000, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly the date, but it lasted a long time.
I think in accordance to what Ron's saying, I think they did start getting rid of those all over the place. I do remember even here in New York, there was a couple of places that had them, and they started to come down. But I noticed there's been a resurgence even at Disney with the new gondolas.
Yeah, they've got the.
Right, and which I haven't been on the Skyliner yet. I'm excited.
Oh, you haven't?
To do that. I have not.
I have not been there either, and I'm looking forward to it.
I got a chance to do it. It was kind of scary because it was a couple of weeks into its opening, and it had just gotten stuck when it first opened, so I was kind of worried about that. But it was fun.
Well, I've been down there a couple of times since they've been in operation.
Mm-hmm.
But as you guys know, I don't normally stay on property because I have family that lives there.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had a need to get on it. And I probably won't for the next time I go. I'm probably just going to have to make it a destination just to go get on it and probably do a circle or something just to try it out. Because since we don't stay on property, I'm not needing to go to, Pop Century or the Caribbean Beach Resort or wherever, because I'm not staying there. But
we were staying at the Art of Animation, and so we were able to use it at that point to get to MGM Studios. It was fun. I preferred actually the lift really that we took, but it was fun.
You preferred Lyft?
I preferred the lift.
You mean like Lyft, like the Uber thing? You
company,
don't mean like a
not
European
the
elevator?
physical. Yeah. Not the lift. No.
Hey guys, we are way off target.
Yeah.
Way off topic. All right, back to the 15th celebration. So, the parade, the 15th birthday parade, classic Disney voice actor Jack Wagner introduced the parade, which is super awesome. The same, please stand clear of the doors. That guy on the monorail and thing, Jack Wagner, he voiced all kinds of stuff back in the 80s. So as I was watching my video, I was excited because it was Jack Wagner's voice. And that's cool. To me, that guy's voice is Disney. It just makes the trip. The 15th celebration parade began with a Snow White introduction. The first two floats were Snow White themed because it was Snow White's 50th birthday. So that was something I completely did not remember until I watched. Thank you to my mom and dad for lugging around that 18-pound camcorder on their shoulder and taping this, but I did not remember the Snow White introduction to the parade until I saw that. Another thing I saw in my video was the Penny Arcade on Main Street. Oh my gosh, y'all. Do you guys remember the Penny Arcade? The Penny Arcade was so much fun.
I do. I don't remember what was in there though. Wasn't it just a photo shop?
It was it was literally in the early days, it was literally a penny arcade. They had all those machines from the early 1900s that you literally put a penny in, put your face on the viewfinder, and it was like almost like a flip book, but it was
the movie,
those black and white photos, and it would be just some guy in a 1900s suit and you do walking down the street and fall down or something.
And one of them had Steamboat Willie or something.
Yes. There was a whole room full of them. It's now part of the Mile Long Emporium shop, but it was over on that side of the street. And it literally was a penny arcade. You walked in, you put a penny in, and you watched the shows. But so cool. I saw the marquee for the penny arcade, and it just made me reminisce and made me want to go back. It was so cool. So the parade, there's the song. It's the Disney World. We're having a party, and it was the song obviously written just for the 15th. So they're saying, "Get your hands up, 15th birthday party," and all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool parade. I really enjoyed it. The costumes in this thing were crazy, man. Minnie Mouse looked like she looked like an extra from a Madonna video. It was like totally 80s Minnie, just the gigantic bow, and it was all 80s colors and stuff, and like fishnets. I'm not joking, man. She looked like she was supposed to be in a Madonna video. It was hilarious. the dancers for this thing looked like, again, straight from the 80s. The male dancers look like Sonny Crockett from Miami Vice. You guys remember he would wear the hot
white
pink
jacket,
or the dude, they look
T-shirt.
Straight. Yes.
The solid gold dancers.
Go, run, you're killing me, man. Look at my notes. Solid gold dancers. The women look like the solid gold dancers 100%. So you had the Miami Vice dudes and the solid gold girls, man. That's exactly
That only makes
what they
sense.
look like. That's hilarious. I cannot believe. Last week Tony was reading my notes. This week you're the one reading my notes. I don't know how y'all are doing it, but yes, they look like solid gold dancers. It was hilarious. So let's see.
At a certain age to be able to remember who the solid gold dancers are.
Yes, if you're younger than say probably 40, you probably have no idea who we're talking about or what we're talking about. But the solid gold dancers.
Look it up. It'd be worth the laugh.
For sure. So then there was another float. They called it the rock and roll float. And it had, let's see, it had the big bad wolf playing a keytar. Y'all remember what a keytar is? It looks like a guitar, but it has a keyboard on it.
Yeah.
Let's see, Tigger was playing drums. They had Chip and Dale were like singers. And Briar Bear was playing, what was he playing? I think he was playing, maybe he was just, I can't remember what instrument he was playing, but Briar Bear was on it too. And that was called the rock and roll float. And obviously they weren't really playing the instruments, but then the next one was called the party float.
You just killed it for me. You mean they don't play the instruments?
Oh, the animals are skilled musicians. Yes, Ron, skilled musicians.
Ron, they're lip syncing to music that they previously recorded.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes, were definitely real musicians. So the party float had Donald Duck and Daisy, and it had the Huey, Dewey, and Louie on it. So that was pretty cool. You don't really get to see them.
Yeah, I don't know that I've
out.
ever seen them in the park.
Yeah, my name is Dewey, so I was always excited to see Huey, Louie, and Dewey. Back when I was in elementary school, I went to a private religious school, and there was in my class, my name was Dewey. We had a boy that was in my class named Lewis, and which we called Louie, and then there was a girl in my class that her last name was Huey. So we were literally
Get out of here.
Louie. I swear, this is the truth.
That's awesome.
It was like my third grade class. Huey, Louie, and Dewey in the class. So yeah, another tangent. You're welcome. So after the party float, this was actually probably one of my favorites. It was the birthday cake float. And again, some characters you've probably never seen, Ron. They were the Country Bears. The Country Bears were on this.
I've only seen them in the
show
action, but I've not seen them out.
Yeah, this was actually on the float, and the float was a great big cake. And they were, had a gigantic cement mixer that they were making cake batter in and everything. But it was the Country Bears. There was like Liver Lips and a couple others, and they, dancing around on the float. So that was really cool because you don't really get to see them very often. And as far as characters, walk around characters. And then the last float of the parade and you guys have seen this in subsequent parades, I'm sure. It was the glass Cinderella Castle parade float, and it had just like princesses and stuff on it. But the parade was really cool, and it had some pretty cool music and everything. I really enjoyed it, and watching the video brought me back to lots of those memories. So to go along with the 15th anniversary, they actually showed, it was one of those Sunday night Disney movies, like, what they call it, Wonderful World of Disney or whatever they had on Sunday nights. They actually aired a 15th birthday celebration. It was a 1-hour episode. And I don't know if you guys remember this or not. It was hosted by the Golden Girls, at least 2 of them. Betty White and B. Arthur were the hosts. And Betty White was basically playing her character from the Golden Girls. So, she was kind of ditzy and dumb.
I kind of, as you're talking about that, it was very common back in the 80s for them to do special events on TV.
Yes.
They do that so much now. But back then it was very common. And I kind of remember, because anytime we were avid watchers of Wonderful World of Disney. So as you're talking through that, I kind of remember watching that episode. I wonder if it's on Disney Plus.
It's not on Disney Plus that I've seen, but you can find it on YouTube. I actually watched it. It is
cool.
not very good. It's, you know, it's cheesy 80s stuff. But
Yeah.
listen, there was a long list of people on this thing. So I'll just read off a few of them to you. Remember, this is in 1986. Who you guys remember who the president was in 1986? Reagan. That's right. Reagan. He 80 to 89. So, or 80 to 88. So yes, President Ronald Reagan spoke at this and, you know, said, happy birthday, Disney World and all that. You had Dolly Parton, Ray Charles, Charlton Heston, and Charlie Daniels. So you guys remember, like, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, Charlie Daniels was on there. And then Air Supply did a song. So some, you know, those are big 80s names. So that was pretty
absolutely.
cool. And, you know, the celebration was basically Betty White getting lost and stuff like that. And, you know, it was silly. You guys remember Webster? You know, that little bitty guy,
Lewis,
Emmanuel Lewis was on it. And, you know, he did a song or whatever and danced in front of the castle. It's worth a watch. You know, it's interesting to say the least.
It'll be nostalgic for me. Definitely.
Yes, for sure.
Anything you see that you don't see today in the parks? Did they show a lot of the parks?
In the background, it's not a lot of, you know, there was some stuff they talk about. At one point, it's funny, they just jump back and forth. At one point, they're in Magic Kingdom and, you know, in front of the town square. And then poof, they're in World Showcase, and they don't even mention that they're at another park or anything. They're just like, "Hey, look, here's Italy." You know, it's just a lot of jumping back and forth that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But you know, it's 80s TV. What do you expect? So they also had a new show that they introduced for the 15th. It was called 15 Years of Magic, and it was at the Castle forecourt stage, and it was basically Mickey and some friends highlighting 15 years of Magic Kingdom memories. So that's also on YouTube if you guys want to go find that. I watched that. It was your typical castle stage show, you know. The parade was just amazing. The parade was the highlight of the anniversary. But here's what's crazy. Do you guys know, or do you guys remember, or have you read or anything about the giveaways, the prizes that they were giving away for the 15th anniversary?
Not for the 15th, but I've seen subsequent ones. What were they giving away in the 50th?
Dude, this thing was crazy. They gave away something like every 35 seconds. It was,
oh my gosh,
like they were giving something away. They were giving away souvenir pins. You could win Disney VCR tapes. So, you know, here's Pinocchio or whatever on VCR tape at the time. If you could find these things on eBay and stuff, and they're super cool. But it's got this here behind me. You see the 15th birthday party logo. They had these totally 1980s visors, and it was like clear plastic. They were blue and they had LED lights on it, and it would light up and it said 15-year birthday or whatever. So, you know, if you were lucky enough to win one, you know, you would see people walking around the park, and you would see 4 or 5 of them a day, and you would be like, oh, I didn't win a hat or a visor. You know, you'd be sad, but you would see those in the parks. You could win Michael Jackson cassette tapes. They had a tie-in with Michael Jackson. We'll talk about the reason why here in just a minute. You could win Walt Disney World park tickets. So you could win additional days, or, you know, come back for another trip or something. And then the biggie, check this out, y'all. 365 days. So for the entire celebration, every day they gave away an automobile.
Wow.
They was sponsored by GM, General Motors, and you could win your choice of a Chevrolet Cavalier convertible or a Chevrolet S10 pickup. So every day they gave away a car. And I've got pictures of me. They had a Chevy Cavalier out in front, and like on display, and be like, you could win this, you know, and out in front of both of the parks at Epcot and at Magic Kingdom. But they gave a car away every day. And then the person that won the car would be featured in the 15th birthday celebration parade. And so they would be, the convertible top would be down, and the winners would get to be, you know, waving at everybody in their Cavalier convertible. So it was, but they were giving away stuff constantly. And of course I didn't win because I never had any good luck, but they were giving all kinds of stuff away. So I found that really, really interesting. I remember, being there and seeing other people that had won stuff. And I was disgruntled. I was like, come on, man, I never win anything. So
I've got some stories about some of those type of things that I would like to interject. I'm not sure this is the time, but remember when they were doing it was part of when they were given the castle sleep in the castle night.
Oh,
yeah.
Day, I forget what it was, but
was that the 100? That wasn't the 100-year celebration. What was that when they were doing that? I don't remember what it was for. A celebration, I think. I don't know which one.
So I've got a story when we get there to share about that. But yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to be the marshal. I just want to be the marshal someday.
Just leading the parade. Absolutely.
Be the marshal.
Now I have been the family of the day at.
Nice.
The only thing it got us was a VIP seat for the Spectral Magic, and basically that VIP suite was on the wooden bridge between the hub and Liberty Square. There's that wooden bridge. They put seats there for the parade, and you're the only ones there. So basically, every single character that comes by interacts with you.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was pretty cool. My son, I don't think my daughter had been born yet, so it was just the three of us, and my son was maybe 2. So, I mean, we've got a picture of him. Snow White kissed him on the cheek, and so he's got lipstick and everything. So it was super cute, but we didn't get to ride in the car or anything for the parade. But so that was kind of cool. Let's see. So for the 15th, up and down Main Street, they had the 15th anniversary logo on all kinds of banners and stuff. So every one of those right now for the Halloween, you've probably seen they've got the fall wreaths with the Mickey pumpkin and everything in it. So on every lamppost, they had the great big banners that hung down that had the 15th logo. And then they also had banners on the castle. I did not remember that. I did not remember any banners on the castle for the birthday, but my mom sent me some pictures. She's got all of our, my childhood pictures. So I, of course, asked her to go through them. And I basically given her a part-time job since we've, that does not pay, by the way. I've given her a part-time job looking for pictures and stuff since we've started this podcast. So my mom is coming up big for us, but she sent me some pictures, and there's
thank you, Dewey's mom.
Yes, thank you, Dewey's mom.
Yes, thank you very much.
But shout out to mom. So there's very clearly, you can see them. There's the 15th anniversary banners on the castle, and I actually had zero recollection of that. So that was pretty cool to have that memory brought back, thanks to my mom's digging in the old Carlton family archives. So that's a big help. And then in front of Epcot Center, they had this gigantic, it would look like a 3-tier cake. It was like square cake, probably 10 feet tall. And I've got pictures of us in front of it too. So we'll drop that into the YouTube video. But it was, and it says happy birthday, happy 15th birthday or something, all written in icing and everything. But it was in front of Epcot. And so that was pretty cool. So the party was kind of everywhere. You could see the 15th logo, in both of the parks. So, and now, but the biggie, and this thing was super cool. I don't know, maybe you guys have seen pictures of this, but do you remember back in the olden days before everything was digital? You remember they used to have the great big clocks that you could set on your bedside table that had it was basically like an actual clock with hands and everything, not digital. And it had the 2 bells on top. And when the alarm went off, it would
an alarm clock.
It would go off like that.
Mm-hmm.
So old school alarm clock. Yes. Well, in front of the Magic Kingdom out there where I guess now where the security checks are, they had a gigantic Mickey Mouse alarm clock. And instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like all the numbers on the face of the clock, they all said 15. And this, I mean, it was probably the size of a car. It was gigantic. It was on this big pedestal and it spun around. And it was the location where you could find out what the prizes were. It was like the prize location, and it had posters that listed all the prizes and how you could win. And that's also where the car was that was there on display. But the clock was super cool. It was really, really cool. And of course it was a Mickey Mouse clock. So, you know, he was pointing to 15 and 15 because it was only 15s on the face of the clock, but really cool looking. So that was kind of the two, I guess you could say, focal points. You had the clock at Magic Kingdom and you had the big birthday cake at Epcot. So for the celebration, they also introduced some new, I guess you could say, attractions in the Magic Kingdom. And I actually talked about this in my previous post, or not my previous post, but in my previous podcast episode. Remember when I was talking about the alternate version of the Country Bears that I saw?
Yes.
That was actually introduced for the 15th birthday party. It was called the Country Bears Vacation Hoedown. And it had new music and new outfits. And that was when like Liver Lips is dressed up like Elvis and they're all wearing those Hawaiian shirts and stuff. So I didn't realize that had been introduced for the 15th birthday party. So that was pretty cool. And then they didn't do a whole lot of new stuff at Magic Kingdom. The only other thing that I was able to find was that the Diamond Horseshoe Review, which was like a Western show, they actually changed it to the Diamond Horseshoe Jamboree, and it introduced some new characters and introduced some new music. And that was the only new stuff that they added to Magic Kingdom, except of course, you know, the parade and all the decorations. But Epcot, you remember Epcot had just opened in October of 82. And when it opened, a lot of the stuff that they had planned on being open for opening day was not opened. There was no Horizons, there was no Living Seas, all of those things. So Horizons opened a year later in 83. So for 1986, a few new things came. And what I read was that this was finally the realization of what Epcot was supposed to be by adding a few new attractions over, you know, between 82 to 86. So you may or may not know this. Did you guys know that there was a version of Spaceship Earth before Walter Cronkite? Did you either of you guys get to experience the Walter Cronkite version of Spaceship Earth?
I remember Walter Cronkite. Yes.
Okay, good. Well, there was a version before,
because I was there when they opened, so I definitely did.
Okay, I never experienced the Walter Cronkite or the pre-Walter Cronkite version of Spaceship Earth. It's out there. You can hear it on YouTube and stuff, but I never experienced it. But it was for the 15th celebration. That is when the Walter Cronkite version was brought online. So in 86, the Walter Cronkite narration was added. They added new music, which anybody know? What was the new music added to Spaceship Earth with the Walter Cronkite version? Tony, I know you've mentioned it before. When you think of Spaceship Earth music, what do you think?
I always think of that spacey stuff.
Right. At the top with the globe, what music plays at the top?
Don't know.
Tomorrow's Child.
Ah, that's where that was from?
Yes, that was introduced with the 1986 Walter Cronkite narration. So that was Tomorrow's Child wasn't in the original version. So that was I found that interesting because, like I said, my first trip, Walter Cronkite, at least as far as in my memories, if it was introduced in 86, I was on Spaceship Earth before that. I have zero recollection of that. So, you know, but then again, I was 11 years old my first trip, so I don't remember everything. But so yes, so Walter Cronkite and Tomorrow's Child was added, plus a couple of new scenes. There was a scene of a boy on a home computer added to the Spaceship Earth ride, and which, if you think about it, in 86, a home computer was unheard of. So that was really futuristic.
It looked futuristic and exotic and scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was a scene with a woman in what Disney called a modern office. So those two new scenes were added. So I thought that was pretty interesting because I really don't remember the version before Walter Cronkite. So that was added for the celebration. In the Magic Eye Theater, what do you guys think? Do you guys remember what was put in? It was a huge, big deal in 1986. Something came to the Magic Eye Theater over by Journey into Imagination. It was a gigantic deal. You guys know?
Yeah.
I see confused looks on your faces.
Yeah.
You don't know. Captain EO. It was gigantic. Listen, this was big news because Francis Ford Coppola was the director of this thing. George Lucas was involved. And of course, Michael Jackson was the biggest celebrity on the planet in the 80s. So that was a really big deal. So Captain EO came to the Magic Eye Theater over there beside Journey into Imagination. So that was a really big deal. And then a really, really big thing happened also. They introduced a completely new pavilion for the 1986 opening and for the 15th celebration. The Living Seas opened in 1986. So, our favorite, the Deluge, was not there before 1986. Kind of crazy to think about. But yes, 1986, they opened it. It had the 7-minute opening film that had, and it rained and it rained. We've talked about that before. The hydrolators, all of that awesome stuff. At that time was the world's largest man-made aquarium. So really big deal to open in 1986. So that was for the 15th birthday celebration also. And then over in the Land Pavilion, they renamed the restaurant. You guys ever been in the restaurant that circles around in the Land Pavilion?
Yes, actually,
I've seen it, but I've never been there.
My nephew actually worked there for a year.
Oh, that's super cool. That's one of our favorite places to eat. That's a really nice place. Originally, it was called the Good Turn. Get it? Because it spins. Yeah, very clever. They changed the name then in 1986 to the Land Grill, and they had an updated menu and everything, again, to add some excitement for the 1986 15th anniversary celebration. It's now called the Garden Grill, so they've since changed the name again.
The Garden Grill doesn't spin anymore either, right?
Now I haven't been to the Garden Grill in probably 3 or 4 years now, but it did then. It still spun then, so I assume it does. I don't, to be honest with you, because of the pandemic, I'm not sure if it's reopened yet or not. But the last time I was there, it did spin around. So, or last time I had a lunch or a dinner there, which was probably around 2018, I would guess. And it was spinning then. And then several of the pavilions from World Showcase got some updates. Mexico, Japan, and the United Kingdom all received new art exhibits and a couple of shops. And then one of my favorites, Le Cellier, the steakhouse over in the Canada Pavilion. Mm-hmm. Before this was just what they called a buffeteria. It was, you go up and get the food. It was like an all-you-can-eat thing. In 86 for the celebration, they changed it. It was still a buffeteria during the day for lunch, but at night they introduced the Le Cellier Steakhouse, and that was, we all know and love that now. So,
oh yeah,
that was also because of the 15th birthday celebration. And then a couple of big things. They broke ground on the Norway Pavilion in 1986, and there was a big announcement, and they made that part of the celebration. In honor of the 15th celebration, we're going to put a new pavilion in Epcot World Showcase, and that was the Norway Pavilion. And at that time, the ride that was coming to that pavilion had a different name. Do you guys know what the different name for the pavilion was?
Yeah.
It wasn't called Maelstrom when it first began. And that actually, if you look, you can see pictures of the Norway Pavilion when construction was almost complete. And there's actually a sign above the door that doesn't say Maelstrom. It was the original name. And it was called Sea Venture, with like SEA, like the sea, mm-hmm. Sea Venture. And the sign was up. And at some point before the pavilion opened, they pulled that sign down, made a new one, and called it Maelstrom. But that was the groundbreaking for that pavilion was part of the 15th celebration. And then the biggie, in honor of the 15th celebration, they broke ground on Disney's MGM Studios. So that happened in 1986 also. It was supposed to open in 87. They had a very ambitious schedule. And obviously we know that did not happen. The park didn't open until 1989, but that was a big deal also. And then a few things in the hotels. The golf resort became the Disney Inn. They changed the name from the golf resort to the Disney Inn. They wanted to make it a broader appeal. They wanted to bring in people, not just golfers. They wanted to open that up to people besides golfers. And they actually added 150 rooms to it. So they changed it to the Disney Inn. You guys know what that is now? It's no longer called the Disney Inn.
Is that Shades of Green?
That's correct. The golf resort was the Disney Inn. And then eventually the Department of Defense leased it, and it's now Shades of Green. It's open to military, active duty veterans, and National Guard and those guys. So
my father-in-law was a veteran. I stayed there a few times. It's a beautiful resort.
It really is. It's very, very pretty. You guys know I'm retired Air Force, so I've stayed there a few times. It's and it actually has, besides any of the suites, like nowadays you can stay in the Art of Animation has suites and all the DVCs and stuff. But when you're talking about just hotel room to hotel room, the Shades of Green has the largest hotel rooms on property.
Yeah.
So they're pretty nice rooms.
They were nice.
Let's see. In honor of the 15th of the Poly, so the Polynesian Resort received room renovations, as did the Contemporary Resort. And they updated the lobby and the Grand Canyon Concourse in the Grand Canyon Concourse in the Contemporary Resort. And they broke ground on the Grand Floridian for the 15th celebration. So a lot of stuff was happening and going on for this 15th birthday party. They really made it like a grand celebration. And like I said, the gifts or the presents or the what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? The prizes. There you go. The prizes were just out of control. I mean, they had bells and stuff that would go off at the front ticket gates when you would walk through. If you won something, it was like this huge production. They really made it a whole thing and a whole production. So it was really very cool. I can remember going and to this day, of all the celebrations, the 15th anniversary or 15th birthday party or whatever you want to call it, that's still my favorite logo. It has the blue castle with the behind it was the circle of Epcot, or of Spaceship Earth. So, for a while that was their logo. It was the castle and Epcot beside each other, or the castle and Spaceship Earth beside each other. And it had a gigantic 15 years. If you're watching this on the video, you can see it behind me. I actually have a display behind me, but this is still my favorite celebration logo. I just thought it was, it's got all kinds of confetti and stuff. It was really nice. I really enjoyed that celebration, and maybe it's my favorite because it was my first one. I don't know, but it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed going back and watching my family videos and doing the research for this. So that was the 15th celebration, the 15th birthday of Walt Disney World celebration in a nutshell. So that's all I've got for that one. So Tony, are you ready to take over for the 25th?
I am ready, and I'd love you guys to, I'm going to do something similar to what you did, but I'd love you guys to share your memories as I go through these, because a lot of what happened after 25 has stayed with the park since, and has created a lot of great memories. So guys, do you know what time it is? It's time to remember the magic. In 1996, 25 years ago, the Walt Disney World celebrated its 25th birthday, as we know. And the celebration not only included new attractions, changes to the resorts, to the theme park areas, new parades, fireworks shows. I mean, it almost sounds like whatever they did at the 15th, they plussed it even more 10 years later to make it something even more memorable for people to go there. And the topper of it all was, of course, the infamous or the famous or the beloved or the hated birthday cake, which we'll get back to a little bit later on. Unfortunately, the cake has kind of solidified in all our memories as the main thing from the 25th anniversary. But when I was doing some research on this, it's unbelievable what happened that year. The silver anniversary left us with so many great surprises, and even that pretty song that accompanied the celebration. It ran from October 1st, 1996, all the way through January 31st, 1998. And that's the period that I started to visit the park more often. And I first got my my park hopper then. So it was the time of the park that I really remember most. That being said, within those 16 months, the following things were added. We're going to start with the Magic Kingdom. And there were parades. And the main parade that was added there was the Remember the Magic parade. And on that one, we had Sorcerer Mickey, who led the floats, and all of the classic Disney characters followed him there, along with the new Disney characters that had become beloved to, I would dare say, our generation. It was the beginning of adding characters like Aladdin and the Little Mermaid and the Lion King to the Disney World parade. The Little Mermaid float featured Ariel in a giant seashell, and she was accompanied by fish who would be dancing alongside her float. And for the very first time, they would start to try to get the audience to dance along with them as they walked down the route. There was a gigantic float of the genie that went down Main Street. And I'm not sure if that's the same one that was in the Prince Ali parade that used to go in MGM Studios. Do you know if it is, Dewey?
It is. I actually saw that, that movie came out in 92. So that parade was at Magic Kingdom for a little bit. And I saw it in Magic Kingdom and eventually left Magic Kingdom and went over to MGM for the daily parade. But it was the same float. It was that gigantic genie. And there was Aladdin on the magic carpet and everything. There was that float too. So parts of that parade did end up in the Remember the Magic parade. So yes, sir, that was the same genie.
And it's interesting how they kind of dispersed some of these things to some of the other parades too. I was watching the parade on YouTube and I noticed that the Lion King float, when it made its premiere down there, is the same, if not the same exact setup. It's the Lion King that they use in the Festival of the Lion King in the Animal Kingdom. It's that same setup with him standing on Pride Rock.
Yeah, Tony, it's not the same setup. It's the exact same float.
Mm-hmm.
It is. You're completely right. They did, don't throw anything away. You might need it again later. And it is. It's the same float that's in the Legend of the Lion King show over at Animal Kingdom to this day.
Well, and then the Animal Kingdom at that point was still in the planning and construction stages. So it's kind of interesting that I wonder if they had in mind to take that over there. Just like at the 15th anniversary, there were surprise magic moments that involved the guests. You could be chosen to be part of the parade, and you could be chosen to get a special treat throughout the time that celebration was going on. And there were one thing I noticed too, that Disney never just throws these parties instantly. It's something that's kind of an evolving process. They tend to start a couple of years before, adding in a few things into the parks that will eventually be part of the major celebration. We've noticed that now with the 50th anniversary, and back at the 25th, they started adding little rides that we'll see here that began in around 94, 95 that were actually prominent during this period. Mickey's Toontown actually got a makeover in time for the 25th. It was a specific meet and greet area for the Big Cheese back there. It was set up more as his house, and you got to visit all his little his friends' apartments there.
Hey Tony, what did they call it at this point? Did you? It changed the name of it.
I got Mickey's Toontown. I'm not sure what it was called.
Okay, well, I think you're right. When it opened, it was Birthday Land, Mickey's Birthday Land, because it opened for, I think, his 60th birthday. So it did go through some different iterations, different names. So it was Toontown for the 25th. Okay, I couldn't remember, so I'm glad you had that written down.
Moving over to Tomorrowland, there were some additional attractions there that had opened between 94 and 96, featuring some more Hollywood talent. Robin Williams performed an uncredited role as the timekeeper. It was an amazing robotic animatronic creature that took us on a time travel cyclorama type movie. I think that was in the spot that was eventually taken over by Stitch, right? Is that same little?
No,
venue?
actually.
Where Monsters Inc.
That's correct. Where the
Right.
laugh floor is now, that is where Timekeeper was.
Right, because across the way at the area that became Stitch, Star Wars creator George Lucas worked closely with Disney on a new ride called Alien Encounter, which featured the escape of an alien into the unsuspecting audience there. And it was a pretty scary, it was called Extraterrestrial, I believe it was.
Yes, it was a play on words, like extraterrestrial, like ET, but it was terrestrial.
Extraterrestrial.
Yes. Did
And
either of you guys get to do that?
I did, yeah.
Oh
I
my
got
gosh.
to go on it. Yeah.
Dude, that was really, I get
Intense.
some of the complaints, it didn't belong in Magic Kingdom. It's too scary. Kids were blah, blah, blah. That was one of the best Disney attractions I've ever been on, especially up to that time, because it was intense and it was well done. Sound effects were great. I mean, everything that was really, really good. So I'm not sure I realized that was for the 25th. So that's awesome.
It was during that period. Yeah. And I remember writing it a few times because of the name George Lucas was on it. It actually said George Lucas's Extraterrestrial
Absolutely
Encounter. That ride was so intense, it closed down eventually and reopened as the slightly friendlier, but a little bit grosser Stitch.
That's horrible. That was one of the worst decisions ever, was to take a truly special attraction like Alien Encounter, Extraterrestrial, and put the chili dog burping Stitch in it. It was, don't get me started.
Well, anyone who didn't do the Extraterrestrial, I think the idea was that you were trapped, you were restrained in your seat in the darkness while you hear this alien wandering around. So it was pretty scary.
You felt it some, right? Didn't the seats make you feel?
I'm sorry?
Didn't the seats that you were restrained in make you feel like you could experience the alien moving around the?
What it did, it came over your shoulders, the harness came over your shoulders, and it didn't hold you down. It was just because there were speakers in the harness. And so at a certain point in the attraction, the alien was flying, and they used the sound effects to make it feel like the alien had flapped its wings right above you. And then the harnesses dropped and hit your shoulders. And it was basically indicating that the alien had landed on your harness. And, so it was very well done.
I remember him breathing on you at one point too.
Yes. They used the sound effects it would
blow air as well.
What's that called? Binaural, I think it's called, when it goes from ear to ear.
Yeah.
And you would feel hot air on your neck, and it would be like growling, and you'd feel hot air. It was very well done.
That sounds extremely fearful for a kid, though.
Definitely. It was inappropriate for that park, I think.
It was
probably belonged at MGM Studios rather than
for sure. And I mean, every time you got off of it, me being, I don't know, a little twisted or something, I would laugh walking off of it, because there would be 10 kids screaming and tears and the whole thing.
Imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. It terrified kids for sure.
Well, I'm thinking about this. I was a little bit older when I first made my first trip to Disney World. And to be honest, I did not go to Magic Kingdom as much, because I kind of at the time thought, I was in my mid-20s. So I thought, oh, that's the kids' park. That's where Mickey Mouse and all those people are. And rides like this were actually things that attracted people like me. I guess it was meant for my generation to say, hey, there's a George Lucas ride there. I want to go check that out. And that's when I slowly but surely became in love with the Magic Kingdom. So it worked on me. Well,
there's a famous story about, you guys know Michael Eisner. He was the Disney CEO at the time. He had at that time, his son was a teenager. So he asked his son, what do you think about Magic Kingdom? Is it for your age? And he was like, no, it's a kiddie park. You need some more exciting stuff there. And that's where Alien Encounter was born. It actually came from that discussion with his teenage son. And so that's why they threw a scary attraction right there in Tomorrowland.
I know he's not exactly the most popular CEO because of things that happened, but I think there were a lot of positive changes during Michael Eisner's period there, not just in the parks, but throughout Disney, in the company itself, which we'll talk about some other time. But specifically for the care that he took to make sure that these experiences were there, I think he should be commended for that.
Well, look, and we can, like you said, we'll talk about it in more in depth at a later time. But Michael Eisner and with his partner David Wells, they saved the Disney company.
They did.
Make no mistake about it.
The
they
movies,
saved it.
the parades.
Yes.
I mean, just everything in general.
Absolutely.
But the Main Street Electrical Parade was changed to the Spectra Magic Parade, and that would delight audiences each night with this beautifully colorful show that featured all the characters with these little lights going on. And in Epcot, we got a new fireworks show. Illuminations became Illuminations 25, which featured fireworks set to a symphony orchestra. Interventions was born. It's the area where tomorrow's technology becomes today. It premiered in 1996. Epcot also added a couple years prior to that, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, a new experience that replaced Captain EO, didn't it?
That's correct. When the Magic Eye Theater replaced Captain EO.
And because The Lion King was such a huge property, there was the Circle of Life movie that they added to the pavilion. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but before The Lion King was a stage show on Broadway and became this phenomenal hit, there was a show called The Legend of the Lion King that premiered during this period also at the Magic Kingdom, which featured these fun puppets enacting out some of the songs of the show. And I actually think that show was better than the actual Broadway show, in my opinion, but that's just me.
I'm going to agree with you, Tony. That show was fantastic. I actually liked it better than the show that is at Animal Kingdom now.
Oh yeah,
it was really good with those
Very
gigantic
cute
puppets.
They were
really
animatronic, cool. Right?
No, they were puppets. There were set pieces that looked like, I don't know, like savanna grass and stuff like that. And
right
below that, they had little walkways, and they were literally gigantic, like life-size lion puppets that, they had on sticks and stuff. And I mean, you could see the sticks, and they weren't trying to hide it. You knew what was going on, but it was
very cute and well done. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it moved on to another park in another country, I believe now, right? Or something.
It may have moved. I'm not sure. It probably went to Tokyo or something. I don't know. But
it's been replaced now by Mickey's PhilharMagic.
That's correct. Yep, that's correct.
All right, at Epcot, we continue with, unfortunately, Dewey's favorite ride, World of Motion, was replaced with Test Track during the celebration in 1997. If you watch, there is another television special celebrating the 25th anniversary, which features more guest stars like Michael J. Fox and people like Hillary Clinton and people like that, celebrating the 25th anniversary. And in that, they talk about this new Test Track ride that's coming in 1997. Also within that period, we got the Universe of Energy with Ellen DeGeneres joined, and along with Bill Nye, the Science Guy, and Alex Trebek, that version of that show premiered, which we all miss, I think, right?
Absolutely. Don't get me started on World of Motion. I still mourn its demise. And honestly, look, I like the original Universe of Energy. But my hashtag is refurbish, not replace. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with them taking the original Universe of Energy and throwing some comedy in there. You still had the dinosaurs. You still learned a little bit about, crude ecology, oil or whatever. Yeah, sure. I'm okay with that. Refurbish, not replace. So I was okay with that. And I actually came to love Ellen's Energy Adventure. It was funny. Ellen's funny, Bill Nye's funny. There were some cameos by Michael Richards, who played Kramer on Seinfeld. So there was some big names in the show, and it was funny, but you still learned a little bit. So I'm not mad at them for changing Universe of Energy into Ellen's Energy Adventure. I think it did add a little bit of comedy and some excitement to the show. But yes, I am sad that it's gone.
We have another situation going on with It looks like back in 1996, the struggle to rename Disney MGM Studios kind of started to happen, because in 1996, Disney MGM Studios was suddenly known as Disney Studios, not even Disney Studios Florida or Disney Hollywood Studios. It was just Disney Studios. And I guess they were forced to rename themselves once MGM went out of business. But at that park, we got a live show featuring the hit movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which featured a lot of the songs in it, and a reenactment of pretty much the entire cartoon. It was a pretty delightful show, and I've subsequently seen a plan for Broadway stage production that's coming in, and I think I like the one that we saw at Disney a lot better. The Tower of Terror had premiered back in, I believe, 94. However, in 1996, they decided to add some additional drops to it so that you can have additional thrills as you were in there, and continue screaming as you ride up and down. A new fireworks show called Sorcery in the Stars premiered. I never saw that I can remember. I don't know if you guys did.
That was a Sorcery in the Sky. It was a fireworks show at MGM Studios. Yes, I did see it. It was pretty cool. You know, it was behind the Chinese theater and everything. And then at the very end, it had an inflatable Sorcerer Mickey. So, I mean, it was cool because it was like instantaneous. You know, it wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, poof, there's this gigantic, like 50-foot tall Sorcerer Mickey balloon. And it actually shot fireworks out of his finger.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was actually pretty cool. It was a really cool show. But
it's like the one that's behind Ron right now.
Yes. Yeah, trying to sneak up on Ron. Yeah, very cool. It's actually a pretty good show.
Disney also added a third water park in 1996 with the emergence of the snow-covered sands of Blizzard Beach. And at the time, its first water park, River Country, was still functioning. So they had 3 water parks going on at the same time. I was fortunate enough to have been able to visit all of them. And I think of all of them, probably Blizzard Beach is probably my favorite, but I like the lazy waters of Typhoon Lagoon. The Boardwalk, the resort, opened in 1996, which I believe was also the beginning of the DVC thing, where they started to offer new restaurants such as Flying Fish and ESPN Zone, and started to offer what was Disney's version of a timeshare, where you got to start to stay there and plan to stay there for the future. And I kind of regret that I didn't do that. I think in 96, I didn't think I was going to be making as many trips as I had. I think if I had realized that was going to happen, I might have bought some of those points way back then. At Disney Village Marketplace, the area which would eventually become Disney Springs, a new world of Disney shops sprung up, as well as some additional dining, such as Rainforest Cafe. With regard to the park itself, when I visited the Magic Kingdom during that period, I actually received a lithograph poster of, I think it was of a little boy and Mickey walking towards the castle. I used to have it, but at the time I didn't know that it was going to be valuable or anything. They kind of handed it to you as you walked into the park. So it got all crumpled, and I had it all crumpled for the longest time. I don't know if I still have it, but if I do, it's a mess. It's not anything that's worth showing anyone, but if I find a picture of it online, I'll show it here. I also got a guest of honor badge celebrating the 25th anniversary, which I have had at my disposal for years. And of course, when I sat down to do this podcast, I couldn't find it anywhere. But if I do have it, I'll again wear it some other time. The Contemporary Resort also spelled out 25 in red lights on the side of the building every night. Discovery Island was still in existence at Disney World. Did either of you guys ever have a chance to experience that?
You know what, Tony? No, I never got to do Discovery Island. I never did that. But back to the Contemporary thing, I completely forgot about that. But now that you say that, that's awesome. You mentioned that there was a big 25 in lights, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. I remember that now. That's really cool. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was so much stuff. I mean, the old Key West Resort became what it is now, and as I mentioned, the Boardwalk Villas opened. They started to expand the resorts, and As you can imagine, prices have changed a lot since 1996. So one day pass back then was only $38.50, and annual passes were $220. And premium annual passes were $319, but they went up to $329 in October. So I think that's why at the time, one of my fondest memories of that period is I was working really, really hard. I had gotten transferred to a new job in Manhattan. And I remember working really, really hard, saving as much as I could, and then taking that vacation and enjoying as much as I could out of it. Every time I went to Florida, I had this brand new rental car that was way better than anything I had at home. And I would just drive along the roads, and I'd go to all the different resorts and get to experience it in such a way that it just was very fulfilling. It felt like a vacation. So when I think about 96 and the 25th anniversary, I do remember the magic. It was a special time for me.
That's really cool. Listen, everything you just listed. So I just did my list of the 15th, and there were some new things that I went over, but most of what was going on was centered around the prizes for the guests. Mm-hmm. But listen to that list that you just did for the 25th, and that it takes you right back to Michael Eisner and David Wells, the CEO and the COO. They were like the dynamic duo. They were Batman and Robin of executives, I guess is what I'm looking for. Yes, they were like the Batman and Robin of executives. They just did unbelievable things. And actually, Michael Eisner dubbed this the Disney decade because of everything that they had planned. So in the 90s, I mean, you just listed, I don't even know, how many resorts did you just list? How many new multi-million-dollar pavilions at Epcot or different new attractions? I mean, we're talking, I can't even put a number on it, probably $1 billion that they spent or more in this Disney decade. And clearly they were trying to get all of this done for the 25th anniversary. You know, you don't just build a new hotel like the
right.
Boardwalk in 6 months. You know, this thing had been talking about architects designing and all the plans and stuff. We're talking probably 3 to 5, maybe 6 years of planning to get
maybe
it ready.
Even longer than that, honestly, yeah. with the how it is to integrate with the rest of the parks and everything. I mean, you're talking a big planning session and getting several high-level executives to agree. I happen to work within a situation where I'm due part of that, and that's no easy task. And I'm not working for Disney. I'm working for a smaller entity where we live, and so I would guess do even up to 10 years of planning for that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And that's just one. We're just talking about
right.
The Boardwalk, but you listed several new hotels and stuff. Not to mention they built the World of Disney, which at that time, that was touted as the world's biggest Disney store. And so they built something everywhere. Every park got something new, big new attractions, several new hotels. I mean, it really was the Disney decade. I mean, the Disney company exploded. And
I think that during that earlier that year, if not before, they also either bought or merged with ABC television.
It was around that time. Yeah. Yes, because that's when you start to see, you got the ESPN zone down there.
Right. That's another thing I was about to say. They also added the ESPN zone. That was one of the restaurants that they added. Yeah.
It's crazy. But I remember Eisner getting some, being a bit controversial as well. I remember him getting.
It was more towards the end, I think, when there was a battle for control with Roy right. and Michael.
Well, the cool thing, or maybe cool, it's maybe sad too. Michael Eisner was a creative guy. He was like an idea guy and that kind of stuff. So he did that well. He actually, some people said he was trying to emulate Walt Disney. He was the Walt Disney, and Frank Wells was the Roy Disney. Frank Wells was the money guy, just like Roy Disney was. And when, unfortunately, Frank Wells was killed in a helicopter accident, he he lost that. So Michael Eisner kind of lost his way after Frank Wells passed away. So unfortunately, a lot of people remember the end and remember the fights and the, how he was kind of pushed out, but they don't remember all the good stuff that he did at the beginning, literally saving the Walt Disney Company.
Saving the Walt Disney Company in terms of movies, in terms of the theme park. And on Broadway in New York, they bought a part of Times Square and changed it from being a seedy, scary district into being brand new, happy Disney place.
Absolutely. So, he gets a bad rap. You're right, Ron. He does get a bad rap sometimes, but that's really, he's remembered for the stuff that happened towards the end. But he did some amazing stuff. And the Disney World that we know today, I mean, we wouldn't have Disney Studios with Disney Hollywood Studios,
right,
which was MGM. We wouldn't have Animal Kingdom. We wouldn't have, I don't even know how many hotels.
A lot of the resorts, the resorts were based on.
They built
on his
so
thoughts.
many resorts in the 90s because the parks were growing so much. They didn't have a capacity for the guests. So
I think at this point it started to become the number one destination in the world.
And that's all because of Eisner and Wells.
And really again, we're just talking about the US. There was also branching out into other parts of the world as well during his reign.
That's right. They opened Tokyo Disney.
Paris opened then during his reign, right?
That's right. Tokyo Disney opened in 83, right around the same time as Epcot Center. And Disneyland Paris, which at the time they called it Euro Disney, it opened in 92. All of that during Eisner. It was all, while Eisner was steering the ship. Wow. So absolutely.
The one good thing about that is he had a lot of respect for Walt and for Walt's dreams. I mean, he may have had a lot of his own influence, but he actually had more respect, it seems, than has been shown over the past 20 years or so.
Oh, don't even get me started on that, Tony. Yes. I would take Michael Eisner back in a heartbeat to Chapek and what that dude's doing right now. That's a whole other disgruntled story. Don't get me started. All right. So that was awesome, Tony. You have, did you get to the end of your list there for the 25th? Yeah. You have anything else? Ron, I know that you're not taking the helm of actually doing a particular celebration. You have anything you want to add about, what we just went over or anything?
Yeah. So one is, we've always planned Disney vacations, not because of what Disney had going on, but because Disney has a special place that I wanted my girls to experience. And so we ended up being at a celebration, our first visit. Tony, I talked offline a little bit about the celebration we went to was the 35th, and I didn't have an opportunity to research it. But the one thing I remember probably predominantly from that visit was they had put a picture frame in front of the castle, which I was not super fond of. But that was the one thing. But we didn't really go to Disney to experience their celebration. We went to experience our own family celebration. And so I didn't really pay attention to what was going on from a celebration perspective. However, the one celebration that we did get to go to that was very distinct, they had the year of 1 million giveaways, or it was something like that, where every day you could be on a ride, you could be on, you could just be walking through the park. They during that had opened a suite in the castle that you could win. One lucky little girl or boy. Girls, I think, just would be over the top with this. You could win a night stay in the castle, and you can go out and see pictures of that suite and things. But I'll be honest, I always wanted my girls to win that trip to the suite. And lo and behold, we're having dinner or lunch in the castle, and the trumpets go off, and in walks the family that had won the trip or the night stay in the castle that night. I was just, my heart just was happy for them. Don't get me wrong. I never wished for somebody not to experience that, but my heart also broke at the same time that my girls weren't the ones getting to experience that. And you could just see, I mean, they had the VIP people escorting them, and it just was a huge deal. So having lunch or dinner at the castle obviously was part of that celebration and win that they got. I think the rest, whenever they announce it, I think they got a VIP tour of the park, which means unlimited fast passes. It means that you get escorted by the VIP, and you may even get the special entrance into the rides that celebrities get and purchase when they for the parks. So it was very interesting. The other part that I remember, which it was very interesting because this happened. I happened to be on business down in Orlando during that same celebration. So it was just me. I had an opportunity to go to one of the parks, and I didn't get to experience this with my family, but all of a sudden at the end of the ride, and I wish I can remember, I cannot remember what the end of the ride was, but all of a sudden a host of Disney Vest Cloud guys come in, and cast members come in with the vest, and they have something in their hands. So you're getting off, and you know you're going to win something, but you have no idea. And it was a fast pass for any ride of your choice. So it was very cool to be part of that. But I didn't get to experience with my family, but it was still very, very cool.
You know what, Ron? I had forgotten about that. You're talking about the year of a million dreams.
Yeah,
I had forgotten about that. So that's right. I can't remember what that was celebrating, but the idea was that they were going to give away 1 million prizes in that year. And it could be, like you said, a fast pass all the way up to a night stay in the castle. That's cool. I completely forgot about that celebration. I remember that now.
Yeah, it was, and they did a good job because I remember we were on MHM at the time, and a lot of people were discussing things that they got to either see or either win even themselves. So Disney definitely keeps you hopping when it comes to the opportunity to be treated special. And I think that's the thing that brings so much joy to me about Disney, is that they, even if you aren't the winner of the major thing, when you go to Disney, and you can disagree with me or not, but when you go to Disney, if you're just a customer that's saved their life to go to Disney, you're made, and in my opinion, you're made to feel very special. Their customer service is second to none. Now, I will say that when we visited this last time, I was a little disappointed in how cast members responded to certain things. And it seems like, I hope this isn't the case. I'm hoping that it was there because we were there during COVID, and that they had to have some bigger restrictions and things. It just didn't, it lost some of they seem to have lost some of the Disney magic when we were there last.
I would say that's probably a little bit true. Maybe it's partly COVID and they had so many restrictions, but I would also say that, again, don't get me started on Chapek and Bob Iger and stuff, but some of the things that they have cut back on is experiences like that, things that allow the cast members to make things magical, and they've gotten rid of a lot of live entertainment, the what are they called, the streetmosphere people over at the studios and stuff like that you don't get anywhere else that was special to Disney is gone. And that's all because of price cutting, because of Iger and Chapek. And it's, putting money in their pockets and taking away the experiences for the guests. And I would agree with you. It's still, look, it's still better than you get anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not what it used to be, for sure. But I'm really excited you brought up the year of a million dreams. That had completely slipped my mind. But I remember now, we actually they called them magical moments. And even like you could buy pens that were called the magical moment pen. And the pins would light up in certain, if you went on a certain ride, something would happen and your pin would interact with something on the ride and your pin would light up or whatever. And then the cast members, and I actually, we would start looking for them because you could recognize the cast member that was about to create this magical moment. They would wear this black, it was like a leather satchel. It had a black strap that crossed like a crossbody satchel, and they were the magic makers. And if you saw one, you knew somebody was about to get something special. So we kind of, I wouldn't say we followed them. We're not weirdos or nothing, but we would look for them and we would try and watch, them create a magical moment for a family or whatever. So it was really pretty cool. They tried to make it just a super fantastic magical experience for everybody. And I enjoyed watching it. We saw several. My son got one. It's one of tradition of ours. We've done it since he was probably 2 years old. We go to the Sword and the Stone right by the carousel. And he always goes and we take a picture. He tries to get it out. And one time we were there during the Year of a Million Dreams. I don't know. He's probably 5, 6 years old or whatever. The sword came out. And that's actually how we learned about the Disney, the magic maker with the satchel, because after the sword came out and he was like, freaking out because it came out of the stone. A lady with one of those satchels came over and gave him a certificate that made him like, I don't know, a knight or something. And so that was really cool. We got to experience one of those magical moments. So that's how I learned about the black satchel people, was because of, we experienced one. So we made sure to look around for them and try to see other people get to experience those events.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Incredible. I mean, it's enjoyable to watch other people win just as much as it is to win, because it's just a magical moment. And you're right, they had it tied in where you would come to celebrate your own magical moment, and they would then add the Disney magical moments around it with the pins and things that you could get.
Yes, it was a really neat thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I'd forgotten about that. So that was awesome. So we're tying this all in. The reason we're talking about all of our memories, we're reflecting on our memories of previous trips to celebrations and birthday parties and things for the Walt Disney World Resort. So the 50 one, that's a big one. That is their golden anniversary. So are y'all planning a trip or anything? Are you in the planning stages, or are you hoping to go during the 50th? You guys know, obviously the birthday parties nowadays go for 18 months. So we have until December 31st of 2022 to get down there. You guys planning a trip or hoping to plan a trip?
We're hoping to plan a trip. We're in the talks of it. I don't know when and how that's going to look to be. I would venture to say that at least Melissa and I we've got some good friends that live in the area, so we normally are trying to make a trip down there about once a year. So, and that always includes a trip over to Disney. So I'm hoping that we can do that.
What about you, Tony? Are you hoping to make a trip down for the 50th?
I definitely would love to do that. I don't think it's going to happen anytime particularly soon, but hopefully once we get maybe a year into this, I'll be able to think about planning that. I would love to go.
I'll be honest with you. We're a little reluctant just because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
You guys know, Ron, you always give me a hard time because I talk about I've been there. We go a lot. But
we haven't been in a while, right?
We have not been since we were there on New Year's of 2019 turning into 2020. So it's almost 2 years now. I can't remember the last time. The last time I hadn't been in 2 years was the 90s, literally the 90s. We've gone every single year since, I don't know, 98, 99, probably.
I know you've got 2 more trips to go before your 50th. And
that's right. I've been there 48 trips. So
wow.
It would be, we normally go spring break, summer, and then Christmas and New Year. So we try to go, since I became a teacher and I get some of those breaks off. we go 3 times a year. And again, like I said, I'm the beneficiary of a father-in-law cast member, so it makes it easier for us to go. But the pandemic and stuff, we haven't been in almost 2 years. So if the world stops being crazy and we were able to get back, I'm hoping maybe we can hit trip 49 on spring break. And then next summer, maybe we can hit 50, my 50th trip during the 50th celebration. That would be awesome. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, for me, my family's health and safety is more important than, hitting my 50th trip. But I certainly hope that the world figures stuff out and we're able to make a trip down there safely. So.
It's not to say that I won't be celebrating, though. There are specials that are going to be coming on television. We were speaking about some of the ones from the previous ones. There's actually a special coming on the 1st.
That's right.
Also Disney's on ABC, I believe, and on Disney Plus, I'm sure. And Disney is also going to be streaming some of its fireworks and celebrations on their channel. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming up on the 1st and through the weekend.
I will definitely watch that show on the 1st. And Tony, I'm glad you said that, because earlier Ron said when we were talking about that horrible Golden Girls 15th celebration thing that I watched on YouTube, he actually mentioned he hasn't seen one in a while. So they are actually doing one for the 50th. I, however, will not watch the Harmonious broadcast or the Enchantment broadcast, the 2 new shows coming to Magic Kingdom and to Epcot for the new fireworks shows. I will not watch those. I have not watched a video for Rise of the Resistance yet. Because I haven't been on it. I refuse to watch a video. Every time I see something, if I'm scrolling on YouTube, I close my eyes and scroll past it. I have not seen it. I want to be surprised the first time I ride the attraction. Same thing for Harmonious at Epcot Center and for Enchantment coming to the Magic Kingdom. I will not watch those. I will see them when I am there. I want to be surprised. So
you won't regret. You definitely want to, when you go, get your line for the Star Wars Resist.
Absolutely. It's, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I can't wait to ride it. I just hadn't been on it yet. Same thing with Remy. I haven't watched videos of that either. I want to be surprised first time I go on it. So, all right, guys, that's awesome. I think that pretty much wraps up our reflections on previous Disney World resort. Oh, wait, Tony's holding up his finger. I think he has something.
We did forget one thing. We were going to come back to it later, and that was the discussion of the 25th anniversary birthday cake.
Okay, let's talk about the cake. Go ahead. Start us off, Tony.
Well, for those of you who might not know, for the 25th anniversary, Disney decided to redesign the Cinderella's castle in the Magic Kingdom and make it into this very pink decorated cake that looked like a giant cupcake. It was pink Pepto-Bismol color, as I've mentioned before, with candles and gumdrops and all kinds of things on it. I remember when I was there, I thought it was pretty impressive looking, but I thought to myself, is this the way it's always going to look? I didn't know. Ron, you mentioned that sometimes you go to the parks and you don't realize that there's a celebration going on. I don't think I was aware that was the thing going on at the time when I went. So when I saw the castle all pink and decked out like that, I was kind of confused. I thought, is this what they're going to do forever? Is it going to look this way? Which, if it had, that would be pretty disgusting. But the fact that it was just for the celebration, it actually looked pretty neat up close and in person. It doesn't really look as good in pictures.
Well, I mean, think about it. We're talking 1996. So maybe the internet existed, but it's not like it was something you could just go. I mean, nowadays you could just Google anything and you get the answer to anything. That wasn't a thing in 1996. So probably when you showed up to Magic Kingdom, you didn't know that the castle wasn't gray and blue until you went to get on the ferry boat or the monorail. Like, you didn't know until you saw it from a distance. You're like, whoa, that's weird. The castle's pink. You didn't know. it wasn't, you know,
well, remember,
nowadays,
this is even before we had to plan every single moment of our trip like 6 months in advance. This was just, you just showed up at the park and you had your experiences there. There weren't any fast passes. There weren't any kind of things that we have today where you had to plan that. You just kind of went there if you went there.
Right. There was no Genie Plus back in those days.
No Genie Plus.
There was no Genie Plus. So, I mean, you know, I had been before that. And if 92 had been my first trip and I walked out, I probably would have freaked out and been like, that's not Cinderella's castle. But I had been before and had seen Cinderella's castle. So when I showed up, and again, when I showed up in 96 or whatever, I didn't know that it was going to be different. And so I showed up and, you know, and I'm like, holy smokes, look at the castle. It's a cake. So I thought it was really cool.
It was neat to take pictures of in front of.
Yes. And really, you didn't know the extent of the redecorating until you walked up to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they literally,
I kept trying to figure out, what did they do? It looks like they added fondant or something to it.
Well, the obviously they painted the castle pink, which was crazy. I mean, they literally painted it pink, but then all of the turrets. So now, you know, the castle turrets that are blue, they all had inflatable cake pieces around it. So it was like they sat these big balloon kind of things on each of the turrets. And each of those had either, like you said, it looked like icing, it had sprinkles, or it had candles. And, you know, yeah, each of the turrets had a candle on it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they lit up. I think the castle.
I'm going to tell you right now, if I had gone to Disney and walked into Main Street and saw that at the end, I would have been so, again, I'm not Dewey. I don't have the luxury of going 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's be fair. In 1996, that was before I met my wife. So I was, I was a regular Joe. I was a paying customer like you poor schlubs. Back in 96, you know. So
but I would have been so disappointed, especially if that would have been my daughter's first trip. I get it. I think it's awesome to do fun stuff, but with an icon like the castle, people are looking forward to sharing with possibly people that for the first time, and you walk into a cake. I can see where people just be like, what is this mess? So
it was a little controversial for sure.
It's like taking the Empire State Building and covering it up like that. What is that?
Well, or even the Statue of Liberty. They were redoing that, and it was covered with scaffolding. That's the first time I saw the Statue of Liberty. I was so disappointed because
that's sad.
Statue of Liberty. I saw scaffolding.
How dare they try to save the Statue of Liberty from rust?
Right. It was much better. I mean, that was a necessary evil, but changing the castle to a cake was a necessary celebration.
And remember, it stayed like that for an entire year. So
it was that way for a while.
You know, it was.
But I think it looks a lot better now. It ever since that time, it's actually improved its look. I think the current look, as we discussed, I believe last week, it's actually a nice, decent look to it.
Agreed. All right, I'm glad you remember that, Tony. I forgot we were supposed to come back to the infamous pink birthday cake castle for the 25th anniversary. So that's good stuff. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed our reflection on past birthday celebrations for the Walt Disney World Resort. Happy birthday, Disney World, 50 years old.
Listen to the complete show on your favorite podcast streamer. Follow us on social media at WDW Reflections Podcast. See you real soon.